Well, hello and welcome to you here for the last time in 2025, our December altar space for one final week. It's a hybrid week, a crossover week, a transition week. But I'm coming to you here on Sunday evening, post-Christmas holiday, in the midst of Yule and other seasonal celebrations that are ongoing as we have moved through the solstice. And wow, I feel like I haven't talked to you for so long. It's been quite a full time in many ways, and I'm still sort of moving through it all. A lot of gathering, a lot of hosting, a lot of blessings and abundance and activity and things here, and still cleaning up and resting up and recovering. But wanted to come in because I'm nosy to see what might be unfolding here for us from the cards for this final week, in these last few days of 2025, and in the inception of a new year that we're just crossing over to in this threshold. So I'd like to bring in some renewal and recovery, the emerald and the hope positive mindset with the olive ray, just to bring in green. I love for new beginnings, for growth, but also for healing. And it feels very comforting and rested, and also bringing us into the heart space with the emerald ray. So let's bring in that renewal and recovery, that soft balm here over our December altar. Crazy to think. I'm going to be changing this over to usher in a new calendar year, new channeled words and elements coming in for our growth, healing, and expansion into 2026. So let's bring in with that the hope, positive mindset as we prepare to step through that threshold that is upon us. Going to do things a little differently tonight, sort of again, hybrid, abbreviated, and also open to new ways of doing things by tuning in for our collective messages. But I'm just going to talk through the cards here in this one shot. I'm not going to break down each day of the week unless something comes out that we really want to get into separately, or I find some additional materials I want to share with you. Then I may certainly expand on them or pop in during the week as those days are unfolding. But what we're going to do here is pull our cards, and then I'll pop off the polo and come back for those of you that like to follow along on the Empowerment Sharecast. That way you can have two separate polos if you want to come back and just listen to the messages I'll be sharing. And then, of course, if you're catching this in my social media spaces, YouTube specifically, it'll be one full video for you. So just a couple things, what we'll be tuning into here, just things I'll be chatting about along the way, as I'm also just sort of mentally going over my own to-do list here in all things empowerment and grow in the flow. We have a lot of opportunities for comprehensive work together. I'm strapping in for an incredibly busy season with all of the 2026 year ahead spreads I can't wait to get into. I really can't wait to record the first video, which is a universal video for everyone who's receiving a year ahead spread that will have an overview of all of the astrological weather coming in highlighted for 2026. We're going to talk numerology. We're going to talk a little bit about Chinese astrology, which I'm going to touch on here tonight as well. I will be doing an expanded video, as I always do, in February for the Lunar New Year. But we're going to be weaving that into part one of our year ahead. And then the first cards that we pull in that 26 card spread, huge reading, 2 parts because it's so big. I can't wait to see what comes up as the signature color, crystal, spirit, animal, oracle messages all coming in to set the stage for part 2, which is the personal readings I'll be doing. So in the realm of all the things you and I can do together to really kick off 2026 empowered. Of course, we're going to be having a new empowerment pack for January loading. So if you would like to join us, that's starting on the other side of the new year here, where we will be having our month ahead reading for the first month of the year. We have a full moon coming right up behind that on January 3rd. So we'll be doing a full moon reading. And then, of course, we'll have the new moon reading later in the month, all while opportunities for us to work together on an all new January Empowerment Sharecast coming forward soon. And of course, the year ahead spread, the solstice and Yule spreads are also still available. I'll leave those out for a bit in case anyone would like to get some seasonal guidance there. So more to come on all of those things and ways that we can connect as we kick off the new year. Meanwhile, we have some of the decks that we've been working with throughout the month of December. I switched up our winter Waite to the winter Waite Redux. And this one is going to really bring in those pastel, the blues, the purples. It's super sparkly. So I love this one now that we are here in winter in the Northern Hemisphere. We've got Santa setting off after a very busy season in some parts and around these parts, and heading off for a job well done. So yes, we'll be exploring this deck. And then the other thing I pulled out here is this fantastic, and I loved working with this for the Yule and winter solstice readings I have done so far, Seasons of the Witch Winter Tarot, a journey through Yule and Imbolc. And so what I've done is similar to what we were doing with the Christmas Tarot, the ghosts of past, present, and future. I pulled out just the major arcana from this deck. So we will check that out for an overarching energy to see our way through this last week and into the first week, hybrid, cross point right here, middle of the week. And then we will pull a sacred traveler for a final message. So let's get to that while I chat, because you know I could keep chatting and I haven't been on in a while, so I feel like there's much to discuss. But like I said, this week, a little bit of a transition. So I'm going to do something a little different for our astrological weather this week. I'm going to touch a little bit on the Lunar New Year and the Chinese zodiac. And again, this transition energy for what we might be tapping into, experiencing, how we can best work with the energies that are leaving and the new energies that are mounting up to come in. So let's see what the Seasons of the Witch Winter Tarot is bringing through for us in the way of an archetype to see us through this week. What is coming forward for us as a collective? Overall, a theme here through the major arcana. One card, please. And we have the new moon card, as it says here, and this is going to be traditionally the moon, card 17 of the tarot, 18 rather. Oh, yeah, because it's a 9 energy. Of course, yeah, I just got corrected there. This is the card 17 is the star. Card 18 is the moon. 1 and 8 is 9. So this is a counterpart card that has gone with the Hermit, this year 9 of culmination, of completions, of graduation. And the moon has also been a part of that, of everything that has been brought to light, everything that has come into fullness, the new phases that we are moving into. Of course, we just had our new moon in Capricorn just last week, was it? This is that time of year. I've seen this meme so many times this last couple days where it's like, it's that time of year where I don't know what day it is, what time it is, and I'm full of cheese, like overindulgence in many ways. So here in the by and by, we've got a new moon energy coming in here, which is really indicative of a new phase, of a new cycle that's kicking off as we move ahead. And so we'll explore that as an overarching energy for us this week. Very appropriate, bringing in that 9 energy for its final go round before we kick off the new 10, 2026, adding up to a 10, 1 and 0, back to the 1. So it truly is an ending of one phase, one chapter, one cycle, and the beginning of a new one that we're launching into with the 1, the magician. So let's see what is coming in through the winter Waite Redux here from Tarot Collectibles. This beautiful sparkly deck has been fun to work with throughout this festive season. Both of those decks. And of course, January, we're going to have all new decks. I have few other winter decks that are up for potential use. And I'm still, like I said, tuning in to see what moves me in terms of the energies that I'm tapping into when I set the January altar. But until then, let's see what this beautiful Winter Waite Redux is bringing forward for Monday to kick it all off this final week and first week. So let's see. Aha, like I said, packed up, rolling out. There's Santa on the chariot. So this is beautiful. This is card 7. This is a major arcana card as well. So this is significant energy on our Fool's Journey. We're loading up the sleigh. We're bringing in balance between the light and the shadow, the yin and the yang, bringing it all together. And our sacks are packed, right? Heading out. So there's a preparatory energy, a readying of our horses, or in this case, reindeer, as we get ready to roll forward. So Monday sets that tone with the chariot. And then Tuesday, representing a potential block or challenge this week, this transition week, what might be coming forward as a potential block or challenge? 7 of Swords just winked at us. It's another 7. And, you know, that is a card of sleight of hand, betrayal, you know, sneaking off with things that don't belong to one. So we'll see. That winked, but I wasn't feeling pulling that out, but just noting. I know it'll be back if it needs to be. Tuesday's potential block or challenge. Oh, the Fool. Amazing. Yeah, we're resetting for sure. New beginnings abounding, getting ready to set out. There's another little satchel that's been packed, and there is this sense of openness and wonder and curiosity. And so, again, we're resetting the dial. This would be Tuesday, so we're getting there into the week. But the challenge of new beginnings is clearing the slate, is feeling ready for the journey. And maybe it's packing lightly, you know, that can be a challenge too. There's a big difference between what's hanging out in the trunk over here versus what's going on over the Fool's shoulder. Wednesday is going to be New Year's Eve. So this is the final day of 2025, December 31st, 2025, culminating it all truly with that 9 frequency vibration. So let's see what comes forward with the Wednesday, New Year's Eve. It's a midweek blessing. What's coming in for us there? Crossroads, choice point, 2 of Swords. So we still got swords coming. Like I said, we had that 7 of Swords winking at us. The swords representing the air element, our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, and in this case, paths that are available to us and which way, and expanding our view, our perspective. So again, I'll touch on these as I go, and then we'll sort of talk through them. Thursday, Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2026. It's maybe going to take us some time to write that date correctly to get it straight in our minds. Speaking of the 6, there is the 6 of Wands. Victory and success. Ride into that new year. Head held high. Jack Frost is the death card. So yes, there's a lot of endings and new beginnings, transitions happening here. And will continue. You know, we don't just change the calendar and all of a sudden it's a brand new day. We're completely assimilated and, you know, what's behind us and what's in front of us, like this definitive line. So Thursday is that crossover into the new. And it represents how we are growing. How have we grown through the whole? We now have the entire year of 2025 to reflect back on, to ponder, to digest, to really go through. So how have we grown? And how may we expect to grow in the coming year? So let us see Thursday's energy. He's back. That's the death card, Jack Frost. So continued rebirth, endings and new beginnings. We're continually moving through in that way. I'm going to zoom in when we do these because I know it's easier to see these sparkly cards when we're zoomed in. So when I go through them, I'll zoom in so you can see detail. But this is a beautiful card, very symbolic, a little nod to the traditional. And we have this energy of, again, forward moving, and there's a horse. And this one is rather icy, but we're going to talk about the Chinese zodiac for 2026. It'll be coming in February, and it's a different element with that horse. But we will chat about that in just a moment. After, on the other side of these messages, that was a swords card, but I didn't quite make it out. Friday is representing a wrapping up of the week and all of these hybrid energies. So let's see what Friday brings us. 3 major arcana, 4 if we count our moon. Ooh, okay, we'll take that one. We'll flip these over. See what we got. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, this is the Wheel of Fortune. This is one of the cards of 2026. Again, you're going to hear me say this a lot, and especially, like I said, we're going to dive into it in the year ahead reading. In terms of how the numerology and the tarot work together, we call it a universal year. So that's where for everyone, we're experiencing a 10-1 year because 1-0 is back to 1, right? So we have card 10 of the major arcana, Wheel of Fortune. The wheel turns, right? Spinning that wheel, and it's a fortuitous move into a new, again, we click that into gear and it's a new chapter. It's a new cycle that begins. Wheel of Fortune. So, wow. That's really significant, and we've kind of gotten a nod all along. We got our 9 nod through the moon, which was the other counterpart, right? So we had the 9 hermit, the 18 moon for all of 2025. Those were key overarching archetypes from the tarot with the universal year. And now, as the wheel turns, we talk about number 1, the Magician, and number 10, the Wheel of Fortune, and more, because 10 is an interesting number. So we get a couple bonus cards this year. One of them is the Sun, 19. 1 and 9 is also 10. So we'll talk about that, like I said, in the year ahead reading. So if you're joining for that or you would like to check it out, that's going to be where we'll dive into that in much more detail. Okay, one more card to pull. Sacred Traveler. Bonus message to finish out the week. Sacred Traveler coming forward here. Final card. Punctuating the messages and faraway places. Get ready for new horizons. And wow, I don't want to misspeak because I'm not sure where this is, but let me take a look real quick. Faraway places. Does she tell us? Denise Linn. Does she tell us? It doesn't identify exactly where it is, but it's definitely in Asia, which is feeling like a beautiful transition to chat for a moment here about the Chinese zodiac and the Lunar New Year. So let's switch over to that. I'm going to come in and do something a little different for our astrological energetic weather, and then we'll do kind of a recap for this whole week in a second polo that I'll do here face down on the altar. Let's check it out. So here we're talking about the transition from snake to horse, 2025 to 2026. And along my travels, I've been gathering many beautiful thumbnails and articles and perspectives that I've seen being shared out there online about this transition. Perhaps you have as well. This one bringing forward this energy of transition as we are moving from the year of the wood snake to the year of the fire horse. So as we're moving through that transition, we are moving from a kind of inner alchemy, things going on inside, skins being shed, to an outward embodiment. So the snake taught us how to shed, and the horse asks us to embody the transformation. So let's take a look now at the energy of the snake year that we are currently in. So here, the snake year, a time of rooting and renewal. So as a wood element year, it was inviting us into continual growth, tending to that inner soil so that new life could rise. And so this was a season to nurture steady expansion, supported by the grounding force of earth. It asked us to slow down, to shed old skins, to release identities, break patterns and fears that no longer fit. And this is shedding, not destruction, which is where we are peeling back the layers like an onion, right? Like the snake skin, in order to reveal new. Each layer that released brought new space for an even truer, more authentic version of ourselves to emerge. It created that breathing room, that growth potential. 2025 snake year deepened our capacity to let go, preparing us to hold greater light, awareness, and power. It's really beautiful this week that we have that death card that wanted to come out, really feeling the snake energy with that in its rebirth, right? The death, the shedding, the release, and then the rebirth and the renewal. And then, of course, the chariot, which is kicking off our week, and absolutely the essence of the energy of the horse year. Let's take a look at that. So now the energy of the horse year incoming, which is going to be February 17th, is the Lunar New Year. So we still have some time here to shed our skins, right? To continue in the energies of the snake. But as we gallop into the year of the horse, the energy shifts from inward to outward. So where we had that snake reflecting, the horse acts, right? It invites movement, freedom, courage, and yet it reminds us that true strength requires regulation and awareness. I believe we had the strength card last week, that taming the beast within, but I remember talking about that need for highest self on top, but yes, those lower aspects have a role as well, right? That snake energy. Very primitive, right? And yet crucial to the process of death, rebirth, and the growth that's happening here. So as the energy builds, we look at the comparison to the energy of the horse. Horses thrive in open fields, not in confinement, right? Wild horses. The call now is to set your own pace, to choose your own direction and move with intention. So this incoming fire horse year ignites passion, visibility, and courage. Fire fuels creativity and movement, but it must be intentionally tended to. Unbalanced fire burns out or it consumes, right? Balanced fire warms, inspires, and illuminates. And in Feng Shui, which is what this beautiful information is coming from, fire rules the heart and the eyes. So how we love, see, and are seen are all coming up with the energies of this new year. So we can use this energy to create connection and not conflict. So what do we do in the meantime? Let's talk a little more about the transition. So now in the in-between, in transition from snake to horse, it's not about rejecting one for the other or being like, good riddance, done with you, snake, on to the horse. It's a sacred evolution. The snake fulfilled its role of refining our inner worlds. The horse now expands into our outer worlds. So you feed your passions, but tend your fire, right? Choose movement with conscious rhythm, and you'll discover that freedom is not chaos, but cultivated consciousness. I love that. And I think that's part of the Fool's journey. You know, this is beautiful because it's speaking to the cards that we have coming up this week. The Fool comes in sort of foolish, right? He's like a simpleton. He's sort of like open and curious, but there's naivete. There's this sense of like he doesn't even see the edge of the cliff right there. And yet he's innocent and open and like clean slate energy. So we're talking about finding that balance where he's not just tumbling over in leaps and bounds, but rather coming in open, curious, and up for adventure, but also bringing in cultivated consciousness. So when we're feeling grounded, progress flows easily. But when we allow chaos, we create friction, right? It's unbridled in a way that is also, it can get a little messy, right? Aside from just being free and you know, open and liberated like that wild horse, but also, you know, kind of having those boundaries, those parameters around guiding us. So the goal here is to carefully manage our inner climate so that the world around us becomes a true reflection of our calm and centered self. So a couple more here. I'm just looking to see what more I'd like to share with you for now, because of course we're going to do a big video and we'll have card pulls and messages that come through in February for the Lunar New Year. Let's just look ahead through the lens of the horse, but we'll take a look at the shadow side. This is a little bit what I was just touching on with the containment versus refinement. So here with the shadow of the horse, and we can kind of, you know, lean into the way that the cards have come forward for us this week collectively with what I was saying about the Fool and also the horses balancing out the Chariot. You know, with every energy, all energy, not just great energy, but all energy holds a shadow. Right? The horse's wildness can liberate or harm. Unchecked, its power can trample on those boundaries that I was saying the Fool needs. Relationships or health can all be impacted by that uncheckedness. So this is not a call to break the horse, right, within us, but to learn freedom without losing awareness. So we're remembering how to be unbroken and awake, wild and yet wise. So it's beautiful. It's about finding that balance in between, the temperance of it all, right? The wisdom of the horse lies in discernment. So knowing when to gallop and when to steady your stride. Do you see how perfect it is that we got the Chariot? I mean, my goodness, I had planned to talk about this and how amazing that we're going to kick off our tarot messages for the week with the Chariot. So follow inspiration, Fool, but honor the systems that sustain you, rest, rituals, and boundaries. So here's some ways we can focus on doing just that. So as we move into the year of the Fire Horse, it's going to really reflect your inner state more vividly than ever. So remember, last year with the Hermit, that lantern of our inner light going within, and all of that focus with the snake and shedding those skins was all about getting your insides right, right? You know, working on the inside so that now, as it's time to step out there more, what's going to shine through, what's going to be reflected in you is your inner state, where we're being seen from the inside out, right? So when grounded, your environment flows with ease. When chaotic, it's going to mirror that too, right? So it's like what goes in must come out. So if we're operating on a system that is grounded with boundaries, with checkpoints, with bringing in greater balance, that's what we're going to be producing. We're going to be working off of that template. But if on the inside there's chaos and open tabs and unfinished and, you know, all kinds of mess, then that's what we're building from. So again, bringing in that, striking that sweet spot there. Now, regulate your energy daily through ritual, breath work, time in silence. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? Do we see how perhaps weaving things into our morning wake up routine, ritual, if that feels like too much pressure, your routine when you wake up in the morning, stretching, taking a few mindful breaths. You know, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it can be. It could be an hour meditation. It could be listening to some kind of a guided exercise. It could be taking a walk or, you know, doing some movement or whatever floats your boat, right? But it's about purposely and intentionally regulating your energy daily. And if nothing else, time in silence, quiet time, unplugged, right? Tend your inner flame so it fuels creativity and not burnout. We have to find our limits. We have to figure out what works for us, what brings us joy, but isn't pushing us to the point of producing just for the heck of it, right? Choose movement that is aligned, not reactive. So what is my why behind the moves I'm making? And that it's coming from that aligned place. Know when to gallop forward and when to rest and graze, right? So both are important and there is a time for all. Support your energy with rest, hydration, and time in nature. And then root before you run. Yes, perfect for as we start talking about the chariot, some of my favorite references there. So we'll talk about that, what it is to root before you run. Okay, we'll leave it there. We'll have plenty more to talk about as we get closer to the Lunar New Year. But I think that was beautiful to come in here in a transition week to talk about this transition that we'll be moving through for a bit now through February 17th of finishing out the year of the wood snake, shedding our skins, and launching into the new with the fire horse. Let's take a look now at our overarching energy for the week with the moon. All right, so our very first card that's kicking things off is going to give us an overview of the theme of this week, this transition week, this hybrid week between the old year, old 2025, remember that, way back when, 2025, and the new year that we're launching into with 2026. As I mentioned, we have the new moon, card 18 of the major arcana, which holds a frequency of the number 9, 1 and 8, and that of course has been our universal year that we've been moving through, the number 9. In this card, it's called the new moon, and it says a maiden is running through a foggy night under a new moon, fearing she's being chased by wild wolves. The animals aren't vicious and only wish to be her companions, but the fog is so dense she can't tell what's really going on. She's been through a lot, and memories of missteps and misplaced trust have made her skeptical and perhaps even paranoid. The wolf and dog following her represent the dual nature of her mind, learned behavior and raw instinct, while the fog represents her lack of clarity, as we see it here. So there's a beautiful symbolism coming in here of, the dualistic aspects. The new moon symbolizes a chance for her to reflect on and set intention for how she wishes to move through the world, either with fear and delusions or with intuition and deeper understanding. Ultimately, she knows where she is and where she's going. If she could only take a deep breath and trust her instincts, she will be just fine. So it's saying traditionally this card is called the moon, and it represents the dark corners lurking in your spirit as a result of the trials and chaos from the fool's journey. Memories of the devil and the tower still sting, casting shadows of doubt everywhere you look. Sometimes this card represents manipulation and illusions and can mean all is not what it seems. Interesting, because we had that Seven of Swords wink at us when I was shuffling to pull our cards this week and mentioned that energy of deception. However, here it is renamed the new moon, and it offers a chance to embrace darkness and the unknown. The lack of clarity you're experiencing is by divine design. It's forcing you to turn inward where you can discover your hopes and dreams and decide what you need to feel in order to feel whole moving forward. All your trials have not been for nothing. You've learned and evolved, and all you need to find your way. This card won't give you a clear answer, as the message is to listen to your own guidance to determine what is true for you. Okay, so I think that did a great job of sort of setting the table for us here, because yes, there is shadow, there's the unknown, and it's all happening in these phases and stages and cycles. And in this instance, naturally, she's holding the light, she's moving forward, but yet at her heels, she has the memory of, and in this case, it's specifically referencing the recent cards. When we look at the major arcana, and I mentioned that this is card 18, the devil is 15, the tower is 16. So there's this energy of the devil being that old, familiar, it's temptation, it's comfort zone, it's addiction, it's falling into those lower, lesser energies in shadow, but not in an empowered way, right? Then we have everything falling apart as a result, right? The tower crumbling, there being that sudden flash of energy coming through that creates this dismantling and this falling apart. And so even though she might feel, and we can bring this into our lives and how this could be showing up for us collectively, but of course playing out differently for all of us, then we have our collective experience on the world stage and more, that not our first rodeo. So we have the memory of the devil. We have the sense of what it is to have the rug pulled out and everything come tumbling down. And those things can make us a little jaded. They can make us a little suspicious, as the kids would say, sus. Oh my God, I sound so old saying that. Yeah, a little sus. My kids would be every time I say that, they look at me like I'm a few generations older than I am. But, you know, it can make us feel a little hesitant to fully embrace moving forward when we have the memory and the collective energetic imprint of those more challenging moments. So I think that's an interesting way to sort of bring that in as the shadow that's trailing behind us, but also the promise of the new beginning, as a new moon would be ushering in a new cycle. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm just going to talk through all our cards in one polo, just to touch on the Monday through Friday kind of as a cohesive story. And then we'll punctuate everything with our overarching, the oracle message that came in to finish us off with the sacred traveler. So let's go ahead and meet over on the altar. Okay, so now we're going to look at each one of these together as just sort of a cohesive, story that we're moving through this week, which I've been talking about the power of this transition, this bridge, this connection from one calendar year to the next, and this sense of, these overarching energies that play out, these archetypes, and it's incredibly noteworthy that we did get these major arcana cards, the Chariot, the Fool, Death, and the Wheel of Fortune. And in the very middle, striking literally New Year's Eve, the absolute pivotal moment is a crossroads with the Two of Swords, a choice point, an opportunity for us to expand our view, to see beyond what meets the eye or what it is that we can't see. We have the hindsight of the awareness of everything that's come to pass in just this prior calendar year. But it's so much more than that, because this is such a significant time as a collective that we are launching into a new era that's really beginning with, it's a continual story, and 2025 was so important and pivotal in that. 2026 continues, amps it up again, and really starts this window that so many people are talking about, 2026 to 2030. There's so much to cover around just the astrology alone. It's just wild. So like I said, those are all things I'll be getting into in the year ahead reading when I get that part 1 going in this coming week. If you would like to join, or if you're on docket for that, stay tuned. So we'll just kind of look at these just for a moment. I'll bring each one of them up and just kind of chat through it. So I'm gonna, sorry for the wonky. I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit. My holder is also getting a little loose. Let me see if I can get it there. Yeah. Oh, slowly moving. I gotta get it to a good spot where it's, oh, okay. It's not quite able to hold. Okay, I think I cracked the little thing that screws it on and holds it in place. So it's a little loose. Yeah, that's what I did. I can feel it. Okay. Well, thank you for bearing with me. We're getting set, right? And that's really what I wanted to say about the Chariot when I said that, that we would talk about this sense of readying the wagon, right? Getting things ready before we roll into it. So we're not just talking about, running out there, getting those horses just charging right out of the stall and just going crazy. We're talking about checking in like we would on any long journey ahead, right? Like a chariot, like the vehicle, checking to make sure that everything is in good order, whether we're talking about an oil change, whether we're talking about the tank filled with gas, whether we're talking about, I like to say, no junk in the trunk, right? Slowing us down, trailing us. He's got these 2 very significant bundles there on the back that are filled with contents. And as we charge into 2026, we're talking about lightening our load. What will you release? What are you letting go? What are you shedding with that wood snake energy? And then what gifts are you bringing with you into the new year? And there's 2 bags there. And like I said, interesting to note, the size of the Fool's little package, he's traveling very lightly as compared to what's going on back there on that Chariot. So, like I said, this card is just perfect to start us off for this week in the collective energies with the Chariot, and really being mindful and intentional about readying our vehicle. And you can look at that in all the senses, whether, of course, this is a time of year where people might be trying to bring in some new regimens around their health, their diet, their movement, their sleep, just lifestyle, and bringing in some changes to give yourself a little checkup and to check under the hood and, make those repairs, recharge your batteries, all of those kind of references, because that's the energy that we are stepping into here this week as this transitional period between the old and the new. So then we see, again, like I said, along with the Chariot packing those bags, that the Fool comes in and is really ready for a new adventure. This is Tuesday's energy, which represents a potential block or challenge this week. And from that, we're talking about, an openness, a curiosity. And another word that I've been using is wonder, having the wonder versus the worry, right? To say, wow, and I've mentioned January 2025 me to the incoming January 2026 me, and how are they different? And how did steps that January 2025 me took, paths that I went down, adventures that I experienced, things that I explored, how did all of those things inform where I find myself as December me 2025, prepared to step into a new version yet again in a new year? So the Fool perfectly comes in. Again, bags packed rather lightly, but there's a beautiful energy with the rose in their hand that really is, a rebirth moment, a blossoming moment, an opportunity to really step in. Yes, there's naivete, there's optimism, and there's a sense of, heading out there to experience things for the wonder of it, for the sheer joy of it, for the curiosity of it. So the Fool also quite appropriately coming in, but that can be a challenge because Tuesday is noting where we might find some blockages or challenges as we step into it, right on the edge, right? Loyal companion nipping at our heels, coming right along with us, getting our attention just in time before going over the edge, because there's this sense of being divinely protected and redirected and learning our way through trial and error, but also, recognizing as the stakes are raised that it's really important that we are being mindful and intentional and having boundaries and having some of those parameters that are helping to guide us as well. So then this card really, as the only minor arcana card that we've received this week, is quite powerful because she is showing where we find ourselves. This would be New Year's Eve, Wednesday. Here she is at the crossroads, right? It's that in between from one year to the next, a calendar year marking 1 month to the next, and we step into the new. And that can feel a little bit like, again, she's sort of stuck there in between figuring out which way do I go, what do I want to do, what choices do I want to make, and maybe feeling a bit limited or, bound by the inability to see. I don't know, of course. So I have to make this choice from this place that feels safe, but also empowered to do that. Whether it's a difficult choice, and then we're feeling unable to really decide something. And this could be, again, remember, collective readings, we're tapping into the collective energies, and some things may resonate more than others. And there's a lot of specifics behind it where just specifically for you, you could be having to make a choice, finding yourself at a crossroads with something. It could mean that sometimes the choice we make could be the less popular one, or it could be very tempting to make a particular choice, but there could be something around, overextending ourselves or, in some way going down a path that we know may not be what's best for us. And so can we step into our power, into our center, and I'm being brought into her solar plexus there, into that central source of, I've got it in here, this internal truth detector, the work that I have done, the soul searching, the shedding, the releasing, the clearing, all of it is giving me this inner knowing that even when I can't see, even when something is obstructed from my view, even when I'm feeling limited, I have an unlimited source of wisdom and knowing right here in me, my gut, my intuition, my wise self connected in. I love the wings in the back. Does she even know that she has those wings? Does she even realize, recognize, and give herself credit for the amount of growth that has brought her to this moment where she might be feeling a little unsure? And yet it feels like, wow, girl, you've got those big, beautiful wings behind you. Do you realize that where you are in your process of metamorphosis, and to really own that too? So I think there's a blessing in having an awareness come in for you that shows you just how powerful you are, just how much you have grown, just how much you are no longer those former versions of yourself. You're standing on their shoulders. You are there, part and parcel from each one of them and the contributions that they have made. And yet it's a brand new you. So there's a blessing in that. And then as we look at how we have grown this year and how we might expect that to be kind of marching forward into the new year, we have this take on the death card called Jack Frost. And it's quite a nod to the, traditional death card. And as I look to, the Rider-Waite version has a little PDF with it. And this is close to the same. Like I said, it's a little different as the Redux. But it's the death card, which is also rebirth. And it notes an ending of things. And generally, it's just showing that, the sun is setting on one thing and there is a new dawn on the horizon. And so he's on a frozen horse, interesting because of all of our fire horse talk, that it's still thawing out, right? We're still on our way to get there. And yes, there have been some losses along the way, and some of them have been pretty big. Major life changes and decisions that have been made this year, things that have come to pass, great losses of loved ones, of bright lights on the world stage that we've lost this year. That's kind of what we're seeing there in the wake of all of that has come to pass here with this energy coming in. And we've grown through all of it. We've learned something through all of it. We've had opportunity upon opportunity. And, again, we are all where we are in that death rebirth process. And this has been about you going within and focusing on you, what's going on there for you, what's going on under your hood, what's in your trunk, what do you have going on, right? That this is about your journey of endings and new beginnings coming on the other side, but also to bring support in through community and connection. So quite appropriate that this card would come in as Thursday's energy. And then finally, when we look to Friday, and this is like so cool because now we're talking about January 2nd, and we are officially settling in. The wheel has turned and we are in it. It is 2026, is a 10-year. Card 10, Wheel of Fortune, also a 1, the Magician, full circle. So we see this sense of what is coming to pass in the turning of that wheel. And this one is fun because, of course, it's still giving us that holiday and festive play on, sort of Santa up there, which gives me a very, expansive perspective, and then also a Saturn influence with like that tough love teacher, that, overarching energy that feels like kind of overseeing. The wheel turns and it lands here, it lands there, those are the breaks, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. The Wheel of Fortune. But for sure, when you look on that wheel in total, it's pretty awesome. It's reminding me of, I'm thinking of literally the game show Wheel of Fortune right now, because that wheel and all those little pie shapes that are like a vacation, a car, all this money, and then bankrupt, lose a turn, all these different pitfalls that can come along in between the potential for greatness, the potential for riches beyond our imagination. And then there's bankruptcy, right? And then there's to lose a turn, or to be set back in some way. Such is life, right? The wheel of fortune. The wheel turns and we move through each one, and we certainly have our preference about which ones we want to spend more time on or where we're hoping it lands. But inevitably we know that into every life, we spin that wheel and we experience it all. And that's what we came here to do. The soul came here to experience wholeness, all of it, multidimensionality. And so it really doesn't matter where it lands. In the grand scheme of things, it's all learning, it's all growth, it's all healing, and ultimately can all lead to expansion. So this is a huge energy that we will be touching on this whole year because it is a part of the universal energy that we will now have stepped into. So let's bring that back and we'll pan out here for one last glance at our spread and see then our final message. So here we come out and we have this beautiful spread that's come forward, major arcana energy out the yin yang to kick us off into this new year of 2026. So let's finish things off with our sacred traveler for where to from here. And so here's our final card to punctuate our messages we received from the Sacred Traveler. Far away places. Get ready for new horizons. Well, how perfect is that in a new year week? New year, new month, new week, new day, right? And it just keeps going from there. So it says, stop playing it safe. Get ready for new horizons and change in your life. A journey is coming. It might be to foreign lands or foreign places, or maybe an inner shift that changes your destiny. It's all beneficial. Sometimes we can feel wobbled when we are not in our normal surroundings. However, you are safe and protected. Good fortune ensues. Wow. Okay, so before I even get into what the Sacred Traveler wants you to know, just that little overview of the meaning of this card. Like I said, it brought me to Asia. I was already planning to talk to you about the Chinese zodiac, the Lunar New Year. And then we're talking about getting ready for a journey, the Chariot, and what I think is cool here, and this would have been something to note, kind of touching on the energies of the Chariot. Yes, for sure. Some people may actually be moving, actually be traveling, actually be going places, right? Things around vehicles and, transporting. But the other thing is, you can be going on a journey within yourself, an internal journey, right? Just like we talked about with the year of the snake has been all about that inner shedding and then getting that inner light to that place where we are ready to step out and let that reflect into the journey ahead. And then, of course, it ends here mentioning the good fortune with the Wheel of Fortune. So many synchronicities and spiritual breadcrumbs coming in here feeling very validating. Now, the Sacred Traveler wants you to know with this card, part of the glory of travel is stepping out of old habits. Of course, the Fool's being referenced here from every angle as well. Out of old habits, routines, and the repetitiveness of everyday life. It can feel daunting, yet in no small way, your life is a spiritual voyage. Change is coming, Death card, right? Things are not as they seem, Two of Swords. There are no wrong turns, Wheel of Fortune, Chariot, Fool. It says, every adventure and misadventure is part of the course. You are on a pilgrimage of the soul. Keep your metaphorical bag packed. Well, we talked about that too, didn't we? With Santa's sleigh over there on the Chariot and, of course, the Fool's little satchel. Keep those metaphorical bags packed. Some unexpected experiences are ahead. Be ready for anything. The joy of travel is that you can begin to experience the everyday as if you are seeing it for the first time. Nothing should be taken for granted. Wow. I mean, every card, all the references, really coming full circle here. And I was just getting some messages there as I was reading that around, yes, our best path forward. How am I best suited to greet this new year and step into it? Like the Fool, with the Fool's heart. Because no, we don't know what lies ahead on this journey. And we don't know that here's what we know. We're not going to like all of it, right? This is what I was saying about the losing a turn and going bankrupt. But when we talk about, what I was thinking of is there's all those prediction videos come out this year. A lot of, every year, this time of the year. A lot of people whose work I love to follow and respect and look forward to every year for their energy forecasts or their year ahead predictions. And some of them are pretty wild, and get really detailed about major events that will be happening and all of these things. And, again, always calling for discernment. Because some of those things can come through a little more fear-based. They can evoke fear at the unknown or the idea of certain things taking place and all of it, right? And it's almost like, it reads like a script, a little template that says, yes, every year is going to contain within it all the things. We spin that wheel and there are going to be major world events, right? Weather events, Mother Gaia upgrading herself. She has been shedding her skins, right? We are in her image. We are created that what's happening within, so without. So if we're shedding our skins, Earth is shedding her skins, and there's this sense of rebirth and renewal going on. Yes, there are natural weather events and things happening upon the earth. There are, things that happen in the news, in Hollywood, and spotlights, and in the geopolitically, every single area, every box is checked. Spin that wheel, and there's going to be something for all, right? So if I already know that those things are going to happen, I may not know what they are, how, when, and all of those things that can cause me to feel that Two of Swords. I hope you're picturing. Let me pull it up for us so we can see it here, and I'm finishing out. So Faraway Places brought us right back to this week ahead spread, right? Collectively, we come in here, we have these 5 tarot energies step forward to weave together for us this story, this outline, this template. To say, we spin that wheel, we don't know where it's going to land, we don't know how long it's going to land there for, but I know that this is the stuff that makes it all go round, right? And so if I step into that with the heart of the Fool and just openness and curiosity, knowing that I am safe and protected, and putting into my parameters all those things we talked about with our practices, with our rituals, with our intentions, with our processes of moving through, that even those things I can't see, I'm making that sovereign choice through discernment from my wise self connected into spirit, and I'm taking this journey with curiosity and wonder packed in my bags, in my metaphorical bags that the Faraway Places said. So I will step down off my pulpit. I'm getting it going here, but I just wanted to say that can we really connect in with the frequency of wonder and curiosity and joy for the journey and for being here at this time to take part in it, and to actually get excited about those things around the corner that we're not sure yet, because as each one is revealed, as each one is illuminated and comes into our awareness, and some of them come in waves all together at once, and it's much, to move through. Can I marvel and can I celebrate the reveal, because it's yet another piece in the puzzle. It's yet another step forward into the new dawn that's on the horizon. Faraway Places said, get ready for new horizons. So take this week to be present, to be reflective, to be in gratitude, to connect in, and really feeling like you are very deliberately and discerningly going through your chariot, looking through, finding all those skins that are ready to be shed, the things we can do to lighten our load, but also packing those crucial bits and the blessings for sure. Okay, leaving it there. Excited to be stepping into it, taking my time as well. Kids are here for the rest of the week. Everybody's off until the other side of the new year. So I'm finding my footing and getting my balance as well. So thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned. There's so much to come forward yet. We have the January Empowerment Sharecast will be coming up. I'll be revealing the January altar as it's put together and then kicking off the January Empowerment Pack. Would love to have you join me to step into this first month of this new year empowered. So, sending much love to all and many blessings. We'll talk soon. Take good care. Happy New Year.